Okay, in the time it's taken me to just do that little bit, seems like we've got somebody with a chainsaw or something going outside. This is real life. So what I was able to do was to get the one from below off. And I would say that's the only way this one can be done. It has to come from below. Then you can pull your axle shaft up. And this one, rather than a C-clip, is more like a keyway. And it looks like if I just kind of grab that, we can pull that off. Yeah, so this one is just more like a keyway. It just fits in the slots. It's not a C-clip. And I did notice as I did this that there is a stud on the crosswind block here. So don't go trying to pry or do anything with that top clip. The bottom is the clip that's going to release. Once we do that, then, oh boy, we can pull that axle shaft out. And we can pull this crosswind block off. Now, pay attention. It's real easy to flip something like this. Notice that the one up top was got exactly what I was talking about. It's got a little hump in it. And you want to make sure that you keep the orientation correct on this. That's why I said if you're not experienced with the reel, and I'm going to claim lack of experience with this one for sure, then you want to take pictures along the way so that you can identify what's up and what's down and act accordingly when you go to reinstall. This is just particularly difficult stuff here. I can only imagine what this thing's going to perform like when it gets cleaned up, because this is a really solid made reel. It just hasn't seen a lot of care and attention to it. All right. I know somebody out there that's watching. I'm sure Christopher is watching this one thinking he's going to go get one of these now. He's been working on a lot of the older Mitchells and the like, and I'm just reading into his mind right now that he's probably thinking, gotta go get one. All right, this is the one that had the top side because it has that stud on it. Just remember that. And this is the reason why a lot of reels get put on the shelf. They were being used for a while. They sat idle. They weren't serviced. The grease dried, bogged performance. Folks said, geez, I guess that's it, and just kind of put it to rest, if you will. And this is where you can find great flea market bargains, because a lot of people just give up on them. And really, if there's no parts broken on the reel, it's just a matter of poor performance. Then just a little bit of knowledge and a lot of bit of perseverance can get you through it. I mean, you can see what we've just done there. So remember, the ones that's got the studs up top, that's going to lock in that the clip on the axle shaft, and the ones that's flat below is going to be where that little C-clip comes in, and it's going to be in reverse order as we do that. Okay, well, that took a while. Let's keep going. The spool up top is it's got an assembly here, so we have a pull apart here below, which should lift the whole spool out. That whole thing should just come right out. So there you go. So we'll just make sure we do a cleaning underneath. There's nothing to be done here, but there is, of course, the cleaning that goes along with everything else. Now, I tested the bail before. It was firing fine. So just get the muck and mire out of here like every place else. And do the dishes, if you will. Okay, so you can see how all of the paper towels and all the other stuff kind of become important. Here's your main spool or pinion gear. Get the old dried grease out of those channels. I'm using a pick for that. And I never said this video was going to be exciting. I said what you're going to do is you're going to learn from it. In this case, we've learned a couple of things about how dried grease will affect a reel. And we also learned how this one was manufactured, which is a little bit different. With that, it's kind of a crossover. It's almost like a rear drag type of a reel. except that instead of putting it on the bottom, they put it on the side plate. Kind of cool. And Joe tells me he thinks this is about mid-70s. I was guessing a little bit later, but that's okay. It's in that genre, regardless. It's almost 50 years old, 40 or 50 years old. All right, that's all cleaned up. Got a little bit below here, so we'll go ahead and do that too. Might as well do it justice. It's been a while since this one's been cleaned and repaired. There's that noisemaker again. What you see is what you get. And I don't recommend ever taking bail assemblies and that off unless it's broken. And in this case, this one's firing fine. I've tested it. We're going to put a little bit of oil onto the trip mechanism here below. And we can just go set this one in that second parts bin as well. Coming back here now, that should have done its work by now. So let's go ahead and see if we can get that any better. It's cleaning up nicely. And again, this is, somebody told me use an engine degreaser in here. I guess that's like gunk or something. An automotive degreaser, I guess that would work fine. Toothbrushes, another thing. Con sent me a mechanical toothbrush to try. I haven't had a chance to get around to that yet, but eventually I will. Right now it's just been a matter of, we've been very busy here with the pandemic. Folks trying to get their reels tuned up, get ready for when they can open up the season again and get us started back on the track. All right, so now we just saw a couple of things. I turned it over and the main gear came out, so that's going to be due for a cleaning. Just a swamp of dried grease in here. So I think what we'll do is we'll just turn this off again. We'll come back in a little bit and we'll pick it up where you haven't missed anything but a whole bunch of cleaning. Okay, so lots of cleaning later. Let's get back and put this together. So we're going to start, after we've cleaned the case, we're going to move that anti-reverse to the off position so that it doesn't bang around with the teeth there. There's two bushings here. There's one for the front and one for the back. One of them was in the case when we started. There's a little kind of keyway here and a tab on that bushing, so make sure you get that bushing into that set. Otherwise you're not going to have a smooth sail. Hold that in while you come over to the other side, because there's the same thing here. We have a little indentation there, and that's where you need to make sure that the little tab on the bushing is resting before you can go in. If not, it's just going to jam up and it won't be performing properly. So I'm just going to use my pick to get that set over there. And once I have them both in those channels, I'm going to turn the reel around. I'm going to put my finger on that bushing, grab the main gear, and then I'm just going to go push that main gear through. Pretty simple to do. And then I'm going to grab the handle while I have all this together, and I'm going to hold that assembly in place with the handle before we go any further. And that WD-40 that I put on the handle knob is working nicely now. So here we go. What a nice, easy, smooth turning reel when you take all that excess grease and junk off of there. Okay, while I was away, I did use steel wool on the axle shaft to clean up that junk from the time that we put this down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come ahead and put the head assembly or the rotor assembly in place. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to put a lot of grease onto that spool gear or pinion gear. And we can set that in its channel. Remember that circle there, this is where the key is going to go. There we go. And then we have the key piece that we were working with there, all cleaned up and nice and shiny. That's going to go on top then and work its way in, just like that. Then we're going to move the gear down to the bottom so that we can address that axle shaft. Remember what I said about the axle shaft now. We have the pieces that have the little tabs on them. That's going up. This part is going down. We want to get some grease into that channel while we're at it. We had the old grease there. We're going to put new grease in and make sure that it rides nicely on that stud. And grab that up. Here's your axle shaft. We kind of learned a little bit about this on the way in. Let's make sure that we put some grease on there. Now, just don't put a lot of grease on there. It's only going to work its way off as it comes through the spool gear there. A little bit of a balancing act with that handle going. And you need to line that up. Okay, as soon as this comes over the top here, you want to go grab that little collar. Get the collar on, and then the collar is actually going to work its way in from behind. So you kind of have to rotate it this way once you do that. Bring the collar down so that you can see that it's set in between all of those little pieces there. And then we can put that C-clip on from below. There's a little groove that rides in, so let's get that in. And I've had my share of C-clips the last few days here. We were doing a Daiwa Procaster earlier. We did the Daiwa 30, but now that C-clip is sitting the way it is. And what a difference, right? What a difference in the performance of that reel. All right, we can put a little bit more grease in, but we're certainly not going to overload it the way we did. I just want to get a little bit below here. And this reel's ready to be closed up. So we're going to take the side plate that we cleaned, load that up over the top. We have those 3 screws, and this is where the parts tray helps because you know where to look for them. And we'll just go put that spool back on and rest comfortable that Joe can go take this fishing and catch a lot more fish with it. I know he had it right out before he sent it to me, and I'm sure it's going right out again after this service gets completed. All right, the only thing left here then. All right, last screw then. Just make sure that gets tightened up. All tight around there. Let's grab that paper towel then and wipe off any excess grease that may have come through the case. Time to put the spool on. Back to the top knob. And it's kind of weird because you use this one, you use a little metal washer to do it. I imagine Garcia at the time probably had a little three-legged tool for that, but again, you can just tighten it down with a quarter or a coin or anything. Let's just put that together, we'll give it a test, and we'll send it on back. Alrighty, let's give it a ride. Very nice. Make sure that the bail is working. Bail is working fine. Could put a drop of oil here. These are the traditional kind of bails. They're Mitchell made. There's nothing going on in there except the bail spring, and you don't need to service that unless it's rough. You don't have to pull bails off as a part of a general assembly. You can leave that go unless the spring or something is worn with that. So there you go, Joe. Nice, easy turning Garcia Kingfisher 72 with an external drag. Kind of a fun little reel that was set up to be waterproofed by way of using excess grease, and then just became its enemy as it wasn't cleaned. So I hope you've all enjoyed that. If you did, please like it and subscribe to see more. To the first responders, again, thank you for all of your efforts. And to all, please stay safe, stay well, and we will get through this pandemic. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.